year, I just kind of have different aha moments. My first year, it was really targeting the MSV and realizing the errors they were making and how I can help track that and put that into my teaching in small groups. This year, my biggest takeaway is the comprehension piece. I have a lot of students reading on higher levels, NOP, and a few a little higher. And so it's been interesting to try and enrich them, build on their comprehension, and take them as far as I can with that.
Today we're going to read a book. It's called The New Girl by BAS. If you want to follow along at the bottom, right here. It says, Nora's mother works in the Army and her family has to move to a new place. We're going to read to find out what happens when Nora tries to meet new friends. Sound good? Mm-hmm. All right.
The New Girl. I finally made some friends here, and now we have to move again. And so, it's so unfair, Nora complained to her father. We've been over this, Nora, her father said. You should be proud of your mother as an Army officer. She has to go where she's needed. It's the same for the other Army kids. You know, I used to know the Army kids, Nora grumbled. Now they're spread all over the world. Nora didn't like being a complainer, but she was tired of being constantly uprooted. A month later, Nora walked into the school. Her sneakers squeaked on the shiny, polished floors. She was not surprised that the other kids turned, stared, and whispered. But she didn't say hello. No one ever talks to the new girl, she told herself. At lunch, Nora looked around the crowded cafeteria. At every table, kids were eating lunch with their special friends, talking and laughing. No kids invited Nora to sit with them. Only one girl smiled at Nora. She was sitting by herself, looking lonely and nervous. She probably knew too, Nora thought. So she just ignored her. Nora dreamed of being in a group of friends, just as she was in her old school. That night, she told her mother about the terrible day. Did you talk to anyone? Her mother asked. Nora shook her head. All the kids ignored me. I'm sorry, honey, Mom said. I just have one connection about next year because I'm kind of going to be the new girl at Westside.
Yeah, you are. I was wondering if you're going to have that connection there. All right. Can you talk to me about what happened in this book?
Well, there was this girl, and I forgot her name, but she was a new girl, and they had to move a lot because she lived in the Army because they were an Army family. And so she had to move a lot. And so she had to go to a new school, and she didn't have any friends. But when she was at the new school, she made one friend because her mom said that if you have to make the first move, you can't just stand there waiting for a friend to approach. So then the next day she went to her and she said, hey, do you need my friend? And then they played together, not at recess, no. They were just they became friends at lunch. And then they sat by each other and they noticed that they were best friends, and before they made any other friends, they should just be friends for now.
I love it. Sounds like you really got a lot from this book, right? All right. Why was Nora so unhappy about moving to a new place?
Because she knew that she wasn't going to have much friends.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. How was Nora like the kids she complained about at her new school?
She was the same because they also complained about her.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. So, what makes The New Girl a good title for this book?
Because she was new at her school and she didn't have any friends.
Okay. All right. What did the author mean when she said Mom was always coming up with sayings that sounded like bumper stickers?
I don't really know.
That's okay. Okay. Find the part of the story where the author showed that Nora had learned something. You can open up and find it.
I think it's right here.
Okay. And what does it say?
It says being part of a group of friends starts with one good friend.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one, isn't it? Mm-hmm. All right, baby, you are all done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The BAS assessment helps me kind of flexibly group my kiddos to see initially where we need to start with for our reading instruction and help kind of guide them on their level. But quickly, we kind of move into strategy groups and I see where their strengths are or where they might have some gaps in their learning. And then I'm able to kind of slowly form some new groups to work on comprehension or expression and fluency or different skills that they might need. Today with this student, it tells me that she has a very strong foundation of recalling and being able to comprehend within the text and even beyond the text, answering how and why questions. And for this specific student, she really needed a little bit, well, in the future, she'll need a little bit more help filling in those gaps and maybe me teaching some one-on-one skills with her about inferring beyond the text of what the writer meant when they had a student smile because of a comment or something like that. I make a lot of check marks of where they answered the questions that I wanted or they answered the question correctly. And I make those check marks and I'll also add their commentary. So if it wasn't on the paper, I always try and get a few notes. That way I can go back and look and see exactly what they said or maybe why it wasn't quite what the text was looking for. And that's super helpful because then I can take it, I can go to the continuum and pull out some more information and goals that we could work on for them. I try and make any immediate notes that I might forget because you're testing so many kids in a day sometimes. I try and always get a few notes on there about whether I noticed accuracy right off the bat or fluency or comprehension, or if there were some confusing MSV. For example, the student had one where she inserted, then she didn't say a word, but then she went back and repeated it. I might make a point before I call up the next child to go back, make sure that I've correctly recorded that so I don't forget. And then later during my planning is typically where I'll be able to sit down and actually focus on all the ones that I gave for that day. I'm making notes and I'm going to need to go back and refer to those notes. I always keep them together. I keep everything in a binder for the whole year. And once I'm done testing for the beginning of the year or the middle or the end, I keep all my instructional notes. That way I can constantly go back and see if the child has made improvement or am I on track to what we should have been targeting for their skill gap. And I find that really helpful. All of my other students are working on Read to Self or in their book clubs. We have a total routine. They come in, I have students get on iRead. I have another group that gets to get on iPads for partial time. And then I have another group that'll be working on book club or read to self, depending on what point of the year we're in. And it goes very smoothly. It's something we practice a lot, and when we're not doing it right, we go back to our seats and we try it again, just because it's super important that whatever child I'm testing back here has the respect and the quiet in the room, so that way they can focus on what they need to. It really wasn't bad at all, because we were just very, I wouldn't even say strict, it was just very deliberate in our routine, and this is the purpose. We always go back to the purpose of what we're doing, and if you're quietly reading to self, the purpose is to become a better reader. And we can't do that when we're talking to our neighbors, or other neighbors can't do it if other people are talking. Don't let it overwhelm you. Stay organized. Keep your checklist. And I think just you're having a conversation with your kids. Don't think of it as testing. Think of it as a conversation and reading together to see where it is that they need to be placed so you can best help them.